Prehistoric Planet came out, and so far it's the closest becoming a successor to Walking With. I don't mean in terms of quality. If anything, I'd argue there's been some paleo-documentaries that surpass both. But in terms of scale, that being We're With the Dinosaurs, using real-life locations, views to match the beasts, the best effects could provide, I figure it's worth comparing and contrasting to see what could be gained from both. So for starters, getting this out of the way, quite yes, Prehistoric Planet has quite the better effects, no question there. 20 plus year difference after all. Walking with Dinosaurs does look pretty good. The CGI looks like some of the best for its time. Prop work is pretty damn masterful. That said, watching it now, I'm not really fully convinced these are actually dinosaurs. I appreciate it as an effort to recreate dinosaurs, but it always feels like there's a little hint of distance. In some sense, cutting from a wide shot with CGI model to a close-up of a prop ends up feeling more distracting, because I'm like, oh, this is something different. Most convincing case is when focusing on the Silodon animatronics, because hey, it's just them in the low burrow. Now going to Prehistoric Planet, well, it's just back-to-back convincing-ass dinosaurs with the latest of CGI. No need for close-up puppets. I watch this and I just keep thinking, dang, these are some real dinosaurs. There might be that occasional little bit where it's, oh, just a little CG, but compared to one bit to the 10 cases where I'm totally convinced, like heck that I care. Also the case of accuracy, which comes with the benefit of hindsight. Granted, it isn't always a correlation. There's plenty up for a reason that still take Jurassic liberties. I mean, what's with this Pachyrhinosaurus horn? The most notable case that I at least noticed is Velociraptors about 10 million years too early. Also moments where they make a claim 1 in 8 babies die, or look at this one eat clay. Cases where they're trying to reflect modern day animal life, but they don't really have those numbers. Overall, it has some of the most accurate dinosaurs to date. T-Rex has never looked thicker. Contrast to Walking With, where they also try to respect the rules as much as they can. Some of their inferences were a little more comical with various oversized dinosaurs, or cases where they just don't seem to care, like putting Utah Raptor in Europe. I heard you, Helen. In a lot of cases, as a more up-to-date reference, Prehistoric Planet kind of does have it beat, but I could think of some areas Walking With could still hold ground. For starters, slight note on structure. For starters, despite being wide-covering nature docs, they cover different realms of direction. Walking with Dinosaurs goes throughout all of dinosaur time, from Jurassic to parts of Cretaceous, contrasting with Prehistoric Planet, where it's all meant to take place in the late Cretaceous. However, it takes place all over the world. So late Cretaceous America, late Cretaceous Mongolia, late Cretaceous Madagascar. If I was to do more direct-to-direct comparison, I would do Walking With to when dinosaurs roamed America. Now granted, there really isn't an issue to the area of focus. I mean, in all honesty, they are just different planes of some cool dinosaurs existing. You want to see the history of life? That's fine. You want to see the landscape of the world during a specific time? That's also fine. I will say, getting more into the details of the story, I think I might prefer Walking With, just because they often focus on a specific ecosystem, heck, specific animal even, compared to Prehistoric Planet, where ultimately you're getting a lot of glimpses. You are really, really, really lucky if you see another dinosaur again. Heck, I don't think we even see the same character twice. Does Hank the Tyrannosaur have any relation with the freshwater Tyrannosaur? Who knows? Both documentaries have dinosaurs that come to mind. Somehow within Prehistoric Planet, Mononychus became my favorite. This isn't general, but dang in this documentary. However, with Walking With, I can recall the actual animal's journey, like an Ornithochirus that traveled the world, the Diplodocus from hatchling to adult, the persistent mother Tyrannosaurus. All these guys have had way more time and focus to develop their stories. Heck, accounting for beasts, they really stepped up their story game with more complex animals. This isn't exactly a jab against Prehistoric Planet, just the nature of storytelling. I mean, I think Prehistoric Planet benefits from showing a lot of different dinosaur variety, if nothing else. Paleo variety. I think one last thing of note with the whole storytelling is the wave of dinosaur deaths. With Walking With, I used to be a little more harsh with how tropey it seemed to be to just have the big somber predator death. Like, there's at least 4 in this show. Postosuchus, Liopleurodon, technically Ornithochirus, the Tyrannosaur. It's easier to watch on their own, but If you do back-to-back, you'll feel the repetition. However, I suddenly feel a little more lighter on that, because contrasting to Prehistoric Planet, they replaced that with baby death. Because most of the time, if some dinosaur dies, it's youngling. The baby T-Rex, the baby pterosaur, the hadrosaur that got sapped by mosquitoes. There was really tension if this other hadrosaur would have died. Luckily it was saved. Considering the story structure, we don't even focus on a dinosaur per episode. Makes sense that they wouldn't have the build up to have one of the big guns die, but it's weird it fell to the other end of the trope. Ice Stripe did like a little poll, testing out people's expectations. Only 16 voted at the time, but a lot of you guys were leaning towards one of the big guys dying. I guess the younglings dying is reflective of nature or something. The thing with Prehistoric Planet comes to power of skipping around to like your favorite sections, because it's so disjointed anyway, you might as well, just go for your favorite bits. I could watch Mononicus forever, that's for sure. Carnotaurus doesn't do much for me. What little arm jokes? I bring this up because a lot more people seem to be in love with Carnotaurus. I mean, good for the dinosaur rep, but contrasting with Walking With, or sure, the power to skip around also exists. There's at least a temptation to stick around if you like an environment. I guess one last thing of note is the narrator. So David Attenborough was actually meant to narrate Walking With, but I guess didn't sign on because it didn't seem too scientific. I'll be honest here, I like the documentaries being narrated by a theatrical person. I mean, Kevin Branagh, this guy breathes intensity. He honestly helps reinforce that Walking With is less of a educational experience and more of an epic experience. Attenborough is also good. I'm not as used to BBC documentaries, so a little unfamiliar with him. Accounting is more of a science man. I feel a little more accustomed to playing a dinosaur where he's just a little more raw information. Here, I'm a little offset whenever he does play into something that is designed to be more speculative. He does sell certain moments like the Dinosaurs brushing. Accounting he's a legacy guy, definitely should narrate this. I'm just mentioning the narrators because it is a point of contrast and due to preference. So anyway, overall, both documentaries are good, don't worry. I think if anything, the newer one, Prehistoric Planet, might be a little more worth revisiting for being more up to date and the look. But don't rule out Walking With Dinosaurs and what it got. Just remember the masters. Anyway, wish y'all a good day.